Hey, hello, how's it going? Andrew here at catskullGameing. It is the weekly dev diary where I go over what I've been doing in my video game making. We are working on Dice Battle Person, and so far things have been going pretty good. I have added a character, this lovely gentleman right here, to the game and taken out the old Strider art. One of the main reasons to do this was to try to bring in more of those classic retro kind of vibes and feels with some more pixelated artwork style that would help blend in the 3D with the 2D. It also gives me a chance to learn something new, making pixel art, which has been lots of fun, and it lets me try to figure out some of the tricks and ways that I can make this interesting by animating it. So when things happen, things can happen. This is all still kind of a proof of concept at the moment. Everything that I'm doing is staging to figure out what the final thing is going to be. We're going to have another meeting with the guys here, I think, next week, and then from there we should be figuring out kind of the scope and what we're looking at actually creating, so we know, hey, 15 enemies or 20 characters or whatever it's going to be. We'll figure that out. The other thing I've been doing a lot of, besides the pixel art, is I've just been spending a lot of time in Obsidian writing down different rules and different things to try to figure out how are we going to scale this and what are those things going to actually look like, so I have a good idea of what we're going to make. First thing that I needed to do was I went in and I kind of broke down, if this is going to be a Balatro-like kind of game, where are we going to be adding our different multipliers and our additions to things, and how can we think about those so that we can organize it and structure it in the code so that when stuff happens we can modify it. And so I was thinking about it like an equation, like a math equation, where pips are additive, faces, anything that you add to a face is going to be a multiplier, and then the dice body would affect the physics of the engine or the object so that the actual rolling would change. And then just going through like what kind of things could we have, like is there enough there that we could build upon this. I was thinking, for additive things, straight addition to your damage, and then also if we do a money thing, they could be, hey, you get X amount of money for the pip you have, or whatever it is. The faces, basic multipliers, as well as trying to think of ways that we could make the faces more engaging, kind of like the Jokers in Balatro, so that they would have like, happy face, sad face, angry face, that kind of, that kind of feeling too, as well as a way to further add complexity, further add player interest to the game so that there's more engagement with them and there's more areas for strategy to be developed. The dice body, I know I want the body to be something that maybe it makes the dice smaller, makes them bigger, makes them heavier, makes them have more forces acted upon them in different ways, so they spin different. There are a lot of different ways that can just make the dice unique in the way that they roll in the animation, which could be really interesting. Also having things like D12s that you could throw into the mix, and they would just be 1 through 6, 1 through 6 twice, or D4s, and you can't do anything that needs a 5 or a 6. Those are all interesting ways to modify the game state that I think is really interesting. And then the Yahtzee part, if you do get a Yahtzee, having each one be unique instead of it just be, hey, you do big damage numbers. Instead it's, hey, you do big damage numbers, but each in a slightly different way. So the aces spin like a roulette wheel, deuces double the enemy score and use it against them, and keeps doubling each time it's used that run. Triples multiply each face by 3, quads get 44 and add them to your attack for the rest of the match. 5s just do 555 damage. Box cards adds the d6 to the dice pool. So those are just some basic ideas. I thought like those could be interesting ways to give rolling that extra special feel, or going for like, oh, actually, if I get that and can get that a lot, I can get some really good things out of it. The dice box, also a way that we could add ways for player interaction, just having it be a small box, a magnetic box, a large box, changing the soundscape that things are rolled into, changing the way that characters look at, or to give character to a character. Maybe each character has their own dice box that they play in and has their own, and changes the way that the dice roll. And character select, I think the more I think about it, I like the idea of there being characters that you can select, and they each have an attack that is unique to them, and a kind of way in which they play differently. So like Sword Guy, 2 times to all pips on his attacks, aces through 6, magic lady deal 2 times damage, dice not used to score become a magic shield, but she'd have like low HP, so you'd want to be getting that to kind of protect them. So doing things like that where you have to plan out your play in such a way that it changes the way in which you think about playing the game. I think that could be a really interesting decision space for the player to play in. Narrative-wise, each character unlocked would expose a little bit more about the BBEG, and it's kind of the same way Street Fighter 2 does, where you learn more about like M. Bison. That way I can go through and take all the word vomit that I put out there to make these, go through them and try to then make it so that each one is coherent to the story, and so that it's exposing enough of a window that by the end of it you have the totality, or at least a majority of what's going on. And that's kind of my idea with the narrative, is that you get an upfront motivation for the character to be trying to fight their way through the BBEG, but then by doing so you learn more about what is the BBEG's motivation into suppressing the world, and why do they need to be destroyed, where did they come from, kind of peeling back that curtain. I think that would be a really interesting way to kind of put things forward. But that's what I've been thinking about. Just trying to take and figure out what we want to build first, so that when we start building it, we can kind of prepare and have a better understanding of how to build it in the long run. At least that's the idea. So, but that's what I've been working on this week in the game. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. I'll be playing Loreline Laser Eye probably for the last time tonight. I think I'm pretty close to cracking it, and then I'll be moving on to another fun game. Check it out Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and yeah, have a good one. Bye.